What's going on, everybody? Cigar Show Tim here with another edition of Tobacco Talk, where I review a cigar and then I give you my thoughts on it in 4 key areas: flavor, draw, construction, and burn. It's everything you want to know about that cigar, but it's from my pal's perspective, and then I rate it as to whether I think it's nub-worthy or not. So, this cigar here, this is the Vice Versa by Fratello Cigars. That was actually the brainchild of a good friend of mine, Kevin, or Cigar Prop, as many of you probably know him as better. And I've been curious about this. I've had the cigar since TPE back in February, and I figured, you know what? What better time than to do a complete review? One way going with it starting mild, one way with it going starting full, and see what the experience is like, well, from both ends and vice versa and stuff. So, I could talk about it, but there's only one way to check this thing out. Let's light it up. But from which side? Oh. So as I said, I have got the Fratello Vice Versa cigar as this review. And the reason I'm doing 2 reviews in one is frankly because I'm going to start this next one from here. No, I'm going to start it from the mild end, and the side that you light up, that is the side that is the mild or the full side. So if you look here on the band, and I'll flip it over and go this way for you so you can see. So if you light up the yellow side, you're going to get mild first. If you light up the red side, you're going to get the full body and full strength experience first. So I'm going to go and light it up from the mild side first, and we'll go from there and see, well, how this is. So what I'm going to do is, well, got to cut the mild side because that's the side that I'm starting on. So cut that right there. You can see. Whoop. Went with a straight cut because, well, there's really no other better way to do this. And then now I need to cut the full side so that I can actually get a draw on it. All right. So now I have both sides cut. There's the full side. There's the mild side right there. And yeah, remember the side that you light up, that's the strength side that you're going to get. So I'm going to be lighting up the mild side. So I'm going to take my cold draw from the full side, since that's the side that I'm going to be taking my draws from. Okay. The cold draw for what is going to be the mild experience, mild all the way up through full experience, is very dried fruit, a little bit sweet, like green grape is in there as well, and then there's quite a bit of earthiness also. So, well, time to light this big bad boy up, and here we go. Okay, upon initial light up, really interesting. You get the initial lighter notes, you get the lighter hay, the grassy notes, the lighter cedar wood, all that's coming through, but the initial punch that you get on your palate is actually some of the darker notes, some of the wood, some of the earthiness, some of the easy stuff for me to pronounce, obviously. But you get some of the darker, richer ones initially on your palate, and then you actually get the flavor profile from the mild side coming through. So really interesting. I'm going to jump into the first third, which frankly on this might be like here. So I'm going to smoke basically an entire Robusto cigar, and when I'm done, I'll come back and let you know. No, I'll smoke through the first third. When I come back, I'll let you know my thoughts. I'll let you know what the blend on the mild side is, since we're starting there, and well, we'll just learn as we go. Okay, let me show you the burn here at the end of the first third. You can see here, got a little bit of a wave to it. Right there, it's razor straight, and then there's just this little dip right there. And I'm just saying that right there is probably about first third, because you look at second third probably being about there, and final third. That's what we're gonna go with. That's what we're calling it. So let's get into the blend of this cigar. So this cigar features, excuse me, an Ecuadorian Corojo wrapper on it. It has an Indonesian binder, and then the filler tobaccos are from Condega and Esteli in Nicaragua, as well as Pennsylvania. So that's the whole blend on it. You can try and guess and figure out what's on the mild side, what's on the full side. But let's get into the flavor notes in this first third. So that light wood, that grassy note, that hay, all those cedar, those different notes that were there upon initial light up have really transitioned more to a really nice creaminess. There's a sweet tobacco note that's in there as well. There's just a sweetness to it, not like it's sweetened by any means, but there's just a nice sweetness that's in there. And then as it's wrapping up in this first third, I am picking up a little bit more into like a toasted nuttiness, almost kind of amaretto note, which I really, really love in cigars. And when I saw that the blend on this had Nicaraguan tobacco, then I looked at it and I was like, okay, I can have an idea as to what it's going to be like, but it is really good in this first third. The draw is a little bit stiff for my liking, but with a cigar that is as large as this is, it's not completely a surprise, especially with the amount of tobacco and the way that this had to be blended and put together so that the rollers would know which side is which as they're rolling the binder on it, as they're putting the wrapper leaf over on top of it, and then being able to put the cap on either the mild side or the full side to know which is which. So there was a lot that went into being able to manufacture this cigar. It was about a 3-year process from when Kevin Shahan talked to Omar de Frias at Fratello and said, hey, this is what I want to do. Is it even possible? He was told no by at least one manufacturer, and then Omar said, you know what, let's give it a shot. Why not? Let's try it. And obviously they made it work, but it took a lot of work on the part of Fratello Cigars to be able to get this into production and to make it work and to have the draw and all those different things. Strength right now, I would say, is probably at a mild plus. As I'm sitting here talking right now, there's a bit of like a cumin baking spice that's coming in now, which is really nice. And it's interesting, it's just on the long finish. It's not part of the retrohale or the initial draw, nothing like that. As it sits longer, you've got that sort of amaretto nuttiness with the creaminess and the cumin. So really interesting combination of flavors in this first third. But I'm going to jump into the second third, and when I come back, I'll let you know what the flavor transitions have been like. I'll let you know any more information about the cigar, and well, we'll go from there. Okay, let me show you the burn here at the end of the second third. You can see there the burn line has got really good, and then some wave here on the back side. I have not done any touching up to the cigar at all through the entire time I have been smoking it. Let's talk about flavor notes in the second third, because really this is where you go from the mild side to the full side. And the transition was very quick and very noticeable. About halfway through the second third is where that shift absolutely took place. So you went from the amaretto nuttiness, you went from the creaminess, all those different things, the sweet notes, into a very pronounced earthiness. Quite a bit of leather is in there as well, and there's some really nice like dark roast coffee on the long finish. Very, very nice. That creamy note is still there just a little bit when you retrohale especially, and that cumin note that was there in the first third has definitely carried its way through in the second third here. And it was really, really interesting. I gotta say that the switch from the mild side to the full side, it was literally like you picked up a different cigar. And so really interesting what they've done with this, with the blend, with how it's all been going. The draw opened up very nicely here in the second third. It was about probably a quarter of the way through the second third. It just opened right up. Ash holds on for a good probably inch to an inch and a half before I tap it off, and it's doing really, really well. Strength right now, I would say, is at a good solid medium strength. Whole body flavors, and I would say it's at a medium strength right now with where it is in the second third. I'm really curious to see how the cigar finishes off, because it did start mild and now we're into the fuller side of it. There's a little bit of a white pepper on my palate as well on the long finish, which is really complementing well with that coffee note and the creaminess and the earthiness and all the other notes that I just mentioned. So it's doing really well. So I'm going to jump into the final third here. We'll wrap up the cigar, and when I come back, I'll let you know whether I think smoking it from mild to full is nubworthy, and well, we'll go from there. Okay, let's wrap up this review. Here's the cigar at the end of it. Burn line is doing really well, actually. Didn't touch it up, didn't have to relight it, didn't have to do anything with it. It did well. Ash held on still for about every inch and a half or so before tapping it off, or one time it did fall off right there in the ashtray, so it did well. Didn't get all over me. But let's talk about flavor notes as this cigar wrapped up. So the more full-bodied notes came into play in this final third, as expected, with it being the full side. So the creaminess is gone, the lighter notes are all completely gone. What I'm getting in this final third are a lot of earthiness. That coffee note is still there, but that amaretto kind of toasted nuttiness is sticking through all the way through the end of this cigar. And there's a very noticeable like white pepper, which transitions into a little bit of a black pepper when you retrohale, which is really smooth, really nice. But it's been very unique in this final third because of how the cigar started so long ago at the beginning, with it being on the mild side and transitioning all the way here through to the end in the full side. A complete just spectrum of flavor profiles that come through the cigar. The strength on this, I would say, is ending at a full strength cigar. It's nothing that's maybe, crazy or, crazy strong by any means at all, but it definitely is full strength. So just keep that in mind if you do try this. I'm curious when I smoke it the other way with the second one that I have, starting full and then going to the mild side, what it's going to be like. But it's been really interesting going through this because it is as though you smoke two different cigars, like I said in the last segment. So the draw on this stayed really nice as it wrapped up. The strength you heard is a full strength cigar, full bodied, full strength, rich, deep flavors. That pepper note, that coffee, that amaretto toasted nuttiness that's in there, all of it just very, very good. The sweet tobacco note is long gone, doesn't exist anymore in this final third. And I've really enjoyed the journey of this. Now, do I think this is a nub-worthy cigar? It's so unique in the way that it goes from mild to full that it's kind of a little bit of a mind game, to be completely honest with you, as to whether I smoked one cigar or smoked two separate ones. And I've heard of some people that cut it in half and one person enjoys the mild side, one person enjoys the full side. But with what it has in its uniqueness and how it's put together and the complete journey that you get if you're a mild cigar enthusiast all the way through to a full cigar enthusiast, full-bodied, full strength, it is nub-worthy in my opinion. I do think this is nub-worthy. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it because it's got a unique journey. Is this something that, I would smoke every day or once a week or anything like that? No, it isn't, but it is a fun cigar to check out and see what it's like from the construction standpoint of going from mild to full again. So I do think this is nub-worthy, but this is only half of the review. I've only done the mild to the full side. Coming up next, you're gonna see me going from the full side to the mild side, and we'll see if the flavor notes are opposite, if they are completely different, and how it pans out. So for the mild to full side, I would say this is nub-worthy, but let's transition now and go from the full side to the mild and see how it goes from there. So part two, here we go.
One eternity later.
Okay, round two, vice versa, right here. Mild side, full side. This time we are going to be lighting up the full side. On the cold draw, I actually got very similar flavor notes to what I did in the opposite way that I smoked it when I started with the mild side. Got that sort of green grape raisin, a little bit of sweetness is in there as well, and then there's some faint earthiness that comes in. So light her up and get it going. Okay, upon initial light up, starting up with the full side being the one that is lit up and the mild side being the one that I'm taking the draw from. Right off the bat, get some dark roast coffee, a lot of leather, and just a hint of earthiness with a little bit of sweetness in there. So that's the initial light up. When I come back, I don't have a blend to tell you. I don't have anything else to tell you other than what it's like in the first third. So when I come back, I'll let you know what it's like in the first third going from the full side. All right, let me show you the burn here at the end of the first third. You can see right there, it does have a little bit of a wave to it. Nothing crazy, I haven't touched it up, but you can see when you look at the ash, it's definitely stacking dimes. It's doing well, the construction and everything. It holds on to an ash for about an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter before falling off. So let's cut straight to it. Flavor notes in this first third. I'm getting a lot of earth, quite a bit of leather, and then strong black dark roast coffee. There's a little bit of sweetness that's in there as well, and it's really interesting because the longer the finish on it, there's that black coffee note, that sweetness is in there, but then there's also, and it comes and goes, you really have to hunt for it, which frankly I'm kind of glad of because I'm not a huge fan of it, but star anise, so black licorice. And so I'm getting a little bit of that coming and going here in the first third of this. And I would put the strength at probably good solid medium right here with where it is right now. So been interesting. I honestly, from when I did the first one, and it wasn't all today, I did it another day. It's been interesting because it doesn't seem like the same cigar I had when I did the mild to full, and now going from full down to mild, it doesn't seem like it's the exact same cigar. So it's really unique in the way that it's blended and put together, that some of the notes that probably carry their way through from the mild side into the full are not there yet because they're not pulling their way through the cigar that way as I'm smoking it. So I'm going to jump into the second third. I'm going to keep going through the cigar. When I come back, I'll let you know any more flavor transitions, any changes, and well, we'll go from there. Oh, and the draw on this is a little bit snug. It's not a ton of work to have to get smoke out, but there is a decent amount of restriction there. And so it's a tighter draw than I, personally prefer, but it's not like you're, it's not like you're sucking a really thick milkshake through a straw. It's nothing that tough. It's just a little bit snug for me. So here we go to the second third. All right, let me show you where the cigar is at the second third here. Got a bit of a wave to it, and the ash is starting to get a little bit crooked right there. But overall, not doing terrible. All right, flavor notes in the second third. The transition has taken place between the full side and the mild side. And I would say the flavor notes right now are starting to be reminiscent of the beginning of the cigar when I had it from the mild side to the full side. So what I'm getting in the second third here, there was that earthiness note that was there, which transitioned, and now there's more of a creamy note that's in it, which was there at the beginning half of the last cigar. And so the creaminess is in there, that toasted amaretto nuttiness is in there, and I absolutely love that. That star anise black licorice note is in there a little bit as well. It's not enough to be off-putting for me, but it is definitely noticeable more now here in the second third. The draw did start to open up. It's still a little bit snug, but it started to open up. I'd say the strength right now is sitting at like a medium minus. So it did not get as full as it did yesterday when I did the first review. And so it's been interesting going now from full to mild, but really enjoyed the second third. I'm hoping that nuttiness sticks with it and the creaminess and all of that as we finish up the cigar. So I'm going to finish up my cigar, and then I'll come back and let you know whether I think going from full to mild was nubworthy, and then I'll do a little bit of sort of thinking back and forth between the two and overall thoughts as to which way I think this cigar should be smoked. All right, let's wrap up this double feature review. Here's the cigar at the end. See, it's got a little bit of a wave to it there, but the rest of it is pretty much straight. Not too bad at all as it's finishing off. Okay, flavor notes in the final third here. Almost said first third, but that was how it was last time. As we end off with the mild end of the cigar. First off, on the strength, I would say that this finished off probably at about a good solid medium. So it started off, if I'm not mistaken, when you look at the beginning of this video, it started off as probably like a mild plus to a medium, if I'm not mistaken. This I'd say is finishing off at a medium minus. So it's good and solid in terms of strength and all that. It's a full-bodied flavor, but when you look at the flavor profile here in the final third of this cigar, it is still carrying through the richer, darker notes and the more full-bodied notes that were there at the beginning. So there is now coming in, which wasn't there at all for the entirety of the cigar. I'm now getting the white pepper with a little bit mixed of a black pepper on my palate, more so on the tip of my tongue and just the back of my palate, not really coating my entire palate. So really interesting that came in at the end of the cigar. And then with the flavors, I'm not getting any of the lighter notes that I got when I smoked it with the mild side first. So what I'm getting is still the little bit of earthiness that's there. The sweet note is absolutely there, the sweet tobacco. But I'm still getting just that earthiness and that darker, richer flavor. The lighter notes going this way, to me, didn't really come through at all. There isn't any of the light cedar. There isn't any of that lighter stuff at all. The amaretto toasted nuttiness is there just a little bit, but it's really only there when you retrohale and on the long finish. So overall, do I think smoking it from the full side to the mild side is nub-worthy? I do. It was really good because knowing that it started off on the full side, I knew I was going to get the richer, deeper flavors. What I didn't expect was that it was not going to get much, really much of any exposure on the lighter notes with the cigar as it finished off, which really surprised me because I figured with the transition and everything, how it was the quick switch from the light to the dark going the first time around, smoking the mild side first, there wasn't any of that like noticeable, okay, it's really transitioned now. So it's been really different, but I do absolutely think this is nub-worthy. This took me on a journey that was much more of a full-bodied and medium strength cigar, medium plus strength cigar, than a lighter cigar. So it is nub-worthy going this way. Okay, let's compare both of them for just a minute here and think through, in my opinion, which way I would recommend you smoking this cigar. Now, if you enjoy the lighter notes of a cigar, you absolutely need to light up the mild side first. You have to smoke it from that end, otherwise you will not, in my opinion and in my experience, you will not get a whole lot of the lighter notes in the cigar at all because the deeper, richer, fuller bodied flavors overpower that when it gets to that half of the cigar. But if you are someone that likes a full-bodied and full-flavored experience with a consistency in the strength of the cigar, then you're going to want to smoke it from the full side first to the mild side, to the light side. So it's been really interesting going back and forth. It is not, in my opinion, it's not like you go, okay, I smoked it this way, and now when I flip it around, it's going to give me just a mirror image. That is not what you get from this experience whatsoever. And so it's been a really interesting sort of experiment to see how is this going to translate, how is it going to work going from one end to the other and doing it differently than I did the first time. So I would recommend, if you're going to smoke this and if you have a palate that is similar to mine, even though I like the milder, lighter cedar wood and the lighter notes that were in there, the creaminess, all those different things, I think I prefer it actually smoking it from the full side to the mild side. It was a more consistent smoke with the transitions and the flavor profiles in it. The sweeter note coming in at the end with the sweeter tobacco really just balanced it out and made for a really good experience, in my opinion. But I want to know, if you've had the Vice Versa, put some comments down below. What was your take on it? Did you try it from both ends? Did you try it from the mild first one time or vice versa? Pun intended. Did you smoke it from the mild side first or did you smoke it from the full side first? Did you try it both ways and which way did you like? I'd really love to get your input and know what you think about it. Or maybe you were someone that said, you know what, this is a long cigar. Smoking time on this cigar, whether it's from the full to the mild side or the mild to the full side, was about 2 to 2.5 hours for me. There's a really well, it's really well packed. It's not overly packed. The draw on this, when I smoked it this way with finishing off on the mild side, it did open up and get finally to where I like it with the draw. But the experience overall with the flavors in it made going from the full to the mild side that much more enjoyable for me despite the tighter draw. So what was your take? Have you had it? Let me know. Let's continue the conversation down below in the comments. And if you've cut it in half and gone mild side only and then did the full side only, did you have different flavor notes? Did you get different transitions? Because this is a cigar that was blended to have two distinct different flavor profiles by the blend, depending on which side you smoked first. So let me know in the comments, continue it. But I've enjoyed this experiment. It's been really fun smoking the same cigar, doing it one way and then doing it the other. And really, in my opinion, this is the way that this cigar is intended to be smoked. Don't go and get just one of these. If you're going to get the Vice Versa, get 2 of them so that you can check it out from either end and get the different experiences, because that's really what's going to give you the best idea or best picture as to how this cigar is. Now, I know it's limited run. I know that it's not going to be around forever, but go and find them online, find them from your brick and mortar. I know that you can get them from Trash Panda Cigars, last I checked, so go and support Trash Panda Cigars and pick them up. But that has been my double feature review on the Vice Versa cigar by Fratello Cigars. As I say every time, enjoy your cigar journey, everybody. I'm Cigar Show Tim. As always, I'll see you.